focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
Oh, what's up there, folks? Brian Nichols here on The Brian Nichols Show. Happy Tuesday, and thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, and today, looking forward to having our returning guest joining us here on the program, the one and only Clay Clark. But before we get there, I want to go ahead and give a shout-out to today's sponsor. That is the Expat Money Show. Head over to briannicholsshow.com/expat, where you can go ahead and join our good friend Mikkel Thorpe, who will help you protect the money you work so hard to earn from those ambulance-chasing lawyers, nefarious creditors, and greedy, unjust governments. He helps people just like you invest internationally, secure second passports and residencies, eliminate that tax bill, and take advantage of offshore structures so you can travel the world freely and never have to worry about money again. And oh, by the way, Mikkel is going to be hosting the Expat Money Summit taking place November 7th through November 11th. It's 5 days. 30 expert speakers, amongst them, the one, the only Congressman Ron Paul. So if you want to go ahead and get your free, yes, I said free tickets, head over to briannicholsshow.com/expat and sign up today. But be sure to be quick because spots are limited. So one more time, briannicholsshow.com/expat. All right, folks. So I teased it there in the intro. We have a great guest returning onto the program today. You know him from the Thrivetime Business Show. It is Clay Clark. Welcome back to the Brian Nichols Show.
Hey, I really do appreciate you allowing me to be here with you, and I hope to drop some knowledge bombs today. I'll let you lead the way because what I'm going to share is profound. Seriously, of any show I've ever done, ever, any topic ever, and I don't know. I just give you some context, okay? We've interviewed, as we've talked off air, David Robinson, Wolfgang Puck, Grant Cardone. You just insert the entrepreneur, Ben Carson, Eric Trump. I mean, I can just go on listing people. Of all of the topics I've ever talked about, ever, this topic today is the one that will impact the lives of the most people.
And not monkeypox?
This is much more profound than monkeypox. This will be a show that, if what I am saying is true today, you may run outside and go, and then people go, why are you yelling? You go, I don't know how to process what I'm hearing.
And that's not much different than any other day, it seems like, here on the Brian Nichols Show. So I guess folks outside the studio are going to have to strap in. So Clay, hit us with it. What's this the sky is falling situation that we should be prepared for?
Well, the first thing we need to do is I'm going to go there with your listeners. So we're going to go ahead and type in right now into Google. Everyone type in Executive Order 14067. Executive Order 14067. All right. So let's all do that real quick here. And so it says, this is a video show. This is an interview show. I shouldn't have to do the work, buddy. You do the work. I'm trying to make sure, because I'm trying to wake people up here in droves. Okay. So once you pull it up, and I'm doing the search with you, okay, you're going to see a few things that come up in the search results. The first one would be from the president. This is a presidency. This is a documentation where you can read it yourself. You also see the Federal Registrar.
Yeah, so this is the one I saw here.
There you go. So
responsible development. Sorry.
If we go there and you read section 4 of this document, I'm just going to play a sound clip that will get to the meat of this very quickly. Joe Rogan did an interview where he was exposing this a few months back, and I don't know that a lot of people caught it. I think a lot of what, Joe Rogan does a lot of long form interviews. So sometimes people maybe miss the profundity of the nuggets in the show. But this is Joe Rogan. Listen to this audio of Joe Rogan interviewing a guest about Executive Order 14067. I'm playing. Here we go. And here we go.
Do you feel like you're sounding the alarm?
Yes.
For people that don't understand what the is going on?
So here, I've pulled it up for you here. Yeah. So there's the video.
Yeah.
I don't know if your camera can see that, but
no.
There's the video. There's him speaking about it.
The G7 is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside physical notes and coins. Unlike most of the digital money people use daily today, it would be issued directly by a central bank, like the Bank of England in the UK.
Right, so that's the guy who runs our economy in the UK. His name's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And here is the article.
Here we go.
Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming. Yeah. And here's a quote from the article. This is in the Telegraph, the one he pulled up, but it was behind a paywall. So I'll just read the quote. Digital cash could be programmed to ensure it is only spent on essentials or goods which an employer or government deems to be sensible.
Wow.
I'm going to take it one step further for you, Joe, right? So the vaccine passport infrastructure is in place.
Yep.
But now we know that the vaccine doesn't stop infection or transmission, but the checkpoint Charlie exists everywhere. They bring in digital banking, central banking digital currencies. You've got a scenario now that you're checking in and out everywhere you go using vouchers that are programmed, and you can only spend where you're told you can spend them. There's another word for that, man. That's called the Chinese social credit system.
Yep.
That's what it's called. And anyone who watches Black Mirror will know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so just so we're clear, executive order, and don't take my word for it, 14067 is going to be passed. It is signed already. It will go into effect on December 13th of 2022. And Robert Kiyosaki, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I've interviewed his co-author, Sharon Lechter, on the Thrivetime Show. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He just did an interview today where he describes this, out loud. They said, how would you describe it, Robert Kiyosaki? And he says, this would be communism in its purest form, is how he described it.
Wow. Communism in its purest form? That's horrifying.
Right. So, your listeners out there, you know the kind of questions that your listeners are going to have about this, because I'm not trying to provide, negativity without any hope or just, drop bombs on people where you can't. But do you have any questions for me about that? Because I know it's a lot of information I just shared, but this is like the most devastating thing in the history of America to hit our shores.
And let's start here, because one of the things we try to do at the show is to take sometimes these very convoluted and charged political issues and break it down to how does this impact your average person. So Clay, just in layman's terms, what would this do to your average U.S. citizen?
Let's go. I don't smoke weed, but let's say that I did. I don't, but let's say I did. And I do buy Bibles. Okay, so I'm going to give you the Bible example, then I'm going to give you the weed example. So let's say that you are listening today and you want to go buy a Bible, and you happen to live in communist China. In communist China, they don't allow you to buy Bibles because it goes against the narrative. It goes against their rules, right? They don't want you to have religious freedom in China. I think we all know that. Now, also, let's just say that you didn't want, let's say you wanted to buy weed, and weed is your American right in certain states, you people think. What if you wanted to go buy that, but China, the social credit score system, they say, no, that's not healthy for you.
Right.
Or a beer or whatever, so you have, it's a credit score system. And I have a follow-up audio I want to play. And this audio was, it was so crazy. This audio is being it's sort of, China is bragging on their system. They're saying their system is awesome. They love the system. They being the leaders of China. So this is their social credit score system, and which they're a fan of, though. So this isn't like they're hiding this and saying no, we don't like our system. They want you to know about the system because they like the system in China. So this is audio of media reporting on the social credit score system in China. So let me just kind of cue this up here, folks. I'm going to go to YouTube, okay, and I'm going to type in social credit so you can find it yourself, credit score, and we're going to type in China. So I pull it up, and there's all different videos you can watch, and this is going to be the one I'm going to play is from France 24. This is the English edition of France 24, and here we go.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. A score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not. For now, the number is a sort of bank credit rating, keeping track of everyone's spending habits.
I think being ranked is a good thing. A society has to have rules. It forces us to be well behaved.
It may
People are pushed. This is what if you interview someone on the street in China, this is what they're saying. Listen to this.
seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it. And anyway, we don't have a choice.
But in an
Wow.
effort to keep all of its subjects in line, Beijing is taking the system a step further in 2020. It's aggregating data gathered by banks, private companies, and the state to rate if someone's a good or bad citizen.
By using the most data possible, the so-called big data, the system will play an important role in
Now, the system is what you would call the mark of the beast system. So let's just play this out. So let's say that Brian Nichols says, hey, I'm going to change the topic of my show. I'm not going to talk about anything religious or political at all. Their system in China, the social credit score, also awards how much money you can spend based upon your weight, based upon where you physically go, and based upon the conversations you have, based upon their 24/7 surveillance technology, their AI technology. So that is what's happening. And this goes into effect December 13th of 2022.
Here in America, not in China, here.
Right. And I'm going to send you everything I just said now so you can share this with your listeners and or not share it with your listeners. It's all cited right there.
So this is something we rewind 2 years ago. I was labeled a conspiracy theorist, Clay, for even hinting that the powers that were being taken over by the federal and state governors in regards to the pandemic, that those could be abused in the future, be it a global climate change initiative that we have to be focusing on. And to this point, now you see the tying together of what was put in place during the past few years of COVID and the precedent set in place there, and then tying in what is this essential communist wet dream from China with the social credit system and bridging those two worlds together. I mean, what can we do to fight back against this? Because, I mean, this has been happening so quick in just 2 short years. I mean, this is taking place now at the end of the year. What can we do to fight back?
Well, thing number one you can do to fight back is you need, this is knowledge bomb number 2. I'm trying to get through 10, but I want to make sure we knowledge bomb 2 till we get to this, because this is very action oriented. I'm asking you the question, have you read section 4? And I'm going to make it very easy for the listeners. I'm going to send this to you, and your listeners can read it. But if you haven't read section 4 of this document, it's very hard to, in my opinion, round up the passion and courage needed to fight back. Knowledge bomb number 3. Have you read Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 through 18? I don't think a lot of people have. I think a lot of people, we go to churches where the, the pastor says, he wants to grow the congregation, right? So he's not going to be politically correct. He doesn't want to talk about politics. He wants to talk about self-help, so it's kind of like going to a Tony Robbins conference, right? With a little bit of religious mist in the air, fog machines and stuff. Okay. So, but if you read Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 through 18, it says, and he causeth all, both small and rich, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their palms, the right hand, or the palm, right hand, or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, say that he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's the wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So, knowledge bomb number 4, I would start looking for the 6s, the 666. So I'm going to send these to you. I'm just going to pelt you real quick with some facts that I'm going to send you on the private chat to try to, again, just encourage the listeners to, I'm going to fire them off here, folks, and I encourage everyone to look this up, okay? So just assume that what I'm saying is nuts. Assume that what I'm saying doesn't make any sense. Assume that I'm making it up. Assume that I'm just, flying off the handle here. Okay. So what I want everyone to do is I want everyone to look up the World Economic Forum logo. That's the organization leading all this. Their logo is 666. The World Economic Forum teamed up with CERN, by the way. CERN is located 6.66 miles from the World Economic Forum. And CERN, their logo is 666. And they're located on top of the former temple of Apollyon, which is Revelation 9:11. Revelation 9:11 says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. A lot of people don't know this, but in the Bible, Satan has many different names, just like Jesus has many different names. One of Satan's names is Abaddon. And would it be shocking to you to know that CERN is literally built on top of the former temple of Apollyon? What? So, the World Wide Web, we're using the internet right now to communicate. The World Wide Web was created by CERN, and they decided to call it www. And you know that in Hebrew, W stands for 6? So, www is 666. The word corona is numerically 666. And someone says, what? How is that possible? Well, you take the word corona, and C is the third letter, O is the 15th letter, R is the 18th letter, O is the 15th letter, N is the 14th letter, A is the first letter. The word corona has 6 letters in it. Add up the numbers, it's 66. The word corona is 666. Bill Gates is working on a patent for a cryptocurrency that goes inside the human body. And the patent number he chose, the publication number is W02020060606. Google Chrome has a logo. That logo is 666. Congress is working on legislation to force you and I to agree that critical race theory is great. And if not, they're merging the CDC. What? The CDC is being if you haven't read this, folks, HR 666 would merge public health. Listen to this. I'm just going to read it to you. It says, this bill establishes the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a national center on anti-racism and health, and a law enforcement violence prevention program. This is thought crime. This is merging the CDC with the authorities, with the legal law enforcement community, so they can arrest you for your beliefs. Congress is working on HR 6666. That's 4 sixes. It's legislation to force you to put the shots inside your body. The United Nations has a statue in front of it right now. That's the exact fulfillment of Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. If you haven't read that in a while, I get it. Not attacking anybody out there, but Revelation 13:2 says, and the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority. That statue is literally in front of the United Nations right now. The Euphrates River's drying up. What? The Euphrates River's drying up. That would be in the Bible. What? The Euphrates River? How's that in the Bible? Yeah, it is. Euphrates names it. Revelation chapter 16, verse 12. It's happening right now. Putin is actually teaming up and forming an alliance, an unholy alliance with Turkey and Iran, which would fulfill this would fulfill, this is not my opinion, this would fulfill Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 1 through 6. And Magog in the Bible would be modern Russia, and Gog would be the head of that. I mean, I can go on and on doing this all night. And I'm just telling people we are living through the fulfillment of Scripture. So my homework tonight is get right with Jesus. That's my thesis. Get right with Jesus. I mean it. And 2, because when this happens, it's going to happen like a flood. You're going to go to the store one day in December, and they're going to go, boop, you can't buy anything today. And you go, why? They go, well, you've exceeded your, purchase of gas this month. You bought too many Doritos. We don't know why. But you're not allowed to buy that based upon your weight, based upon your thoughts, based upon your political views, based upon what you put on social media. You can't buy anymore that. And if you look at the country, Sri Lanka, that's the most compliant to these social credit scores, Sri Lanka has completely collapsed. And we're very close to seeing the United States be considered no longer the world's reserve currency. So China, India, Russia, Zimbabwe, look this up, folks. China, Russia, Zimbabwe. They are now moving away from the U.S. dollar. China, India, Russia, China. We talked a lot of times. Growing up, as a kid, we talked a lot about, when I was a younger guy, oh, man, America's number one. And we're number one. We're dominant. And China would never take us over because they need us. People always said, America's number one. India would never betray us because they need us. Russia would never betray us because they need us. Putin said, moving forward, if you want to buy my real oil, you have to pay with real currency, and that would be defined as gold or silver. So they're moving away from the We're moving away from the U.S. dollar as being the world's reserve currency. They're moving into the gold standard, which means that America is headed for a really rough patch. So calls to action tonight. One, everybody, Brian, I encourage you, go to timetofreeamerica.com, download a copy of my book for free tonight. It's free. It's called The Great Reset versus The Great Reawakening. Every night, a couple hundred people do this. You can download it for free. You can understand what's going on. You can get it for free right now at timetofreeamerica.com. Two, you can watch the documentary about the Reawaken America tour, again, for free. It's called The Great Reawakening versus The Great Reset. You go to timetofreeamerica.com and you click on the shopping cart. You can download it for free. The book and the movie, you can download both of these. Also, by the way, we hired the same documentary team that President Donald J. Trump used to shoot his documentary called The Trump I Know. Matt and Joy Thayer shot our documentary for us. And three, I would encourage, if you can go to timetofreeamerica.com, we are going to bring the Reawaken America tour to Washington and Idaho, the Washington-Idaho border. That's in September. Then we're going to take this event to October. We're going to Pennsylvania in October. And for all of our events, you want to see Mike Lindell, General Flynn, Dr. Tenpenny, Eric Trump, Don Jr., Team America, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Jim Caviezel, Dr. Judy Mikovits. You can name your price if you want to attend our events. So you can pay whatever price you want to pay. I don't know of any NFL games or professional sporting events where you can name your price, or movies where you can name your price, or grocery stores where you can name your price, or convenience stores where you can name your price. But at our events, you can name your price. And someone says, how does that make any economic sense? I am beyond making economic sense. I'm trying to help save America and wake up everybody, because we've got to stop this specific executive order 14067.
Whenever I end the show, I almost will always ask someone to end it on a positive note. But Clay, you've already gone ahead and did that for us, because part of what we're looking for, and I think what folks across the board have been looking for, is someone to just stand up and say, no, this is wrong, and that there is, in fact, another way of doing things. And that's what you guys have been doing over at the Reawaken America Tour. And we talked about this last time you were on the program, the impact that that's having, and the fact that people are starting to not just wake up, but now we can mobilize and go against these just atrocious bills. So yes, we'll make sure we include every link that you've gone through and drop for the knowledge bombs today, all 10 of them for the audience in the show notes. So folks, if you want to go ahead and check that out, go to your podcast catcher, click the Brian Nichols Show artwork. It'll bring you right over to today's episode, where yes, all those links plus the entire transcript of today's episode and all 560 plus episodes of the program. Clay, where can folks go ahead and continue the conversation with you if they want to do so?
Yeah, I would just say, if you go to rumble.com and you search for Thrivetime Show, rumble.com, and we put out, today I think we put out 15 shows. We're just bombs. Poof, poof, poof. Also, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, everything we talked about on today's show is cited, and it's updated every morning. So it's kind of like an aggregator of all things related to fighting back against the Great Reset there. And again, you can get that all at timetofreeamerica.com. And again, thank you for carving out time to allow me to be here with you.
Absolutely. Well, folks, thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor. Go ahead, give it a share. And when you do, please go ahead and give Clay some love as well. And yes, it is the Great Reset versus the Great Reawakening. You can go ahead and find that link for that book included here in the show notes as well. But with that being said, it's Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for the one and only Clay Clark. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.